This video is brought to you by Casetify. In my review, I called the iPhone 15 the best iPhone in years, and this is thanks to the many big improvements and upgrades that it brought to the non-Pro iPhone line. However, now that the iPhone 15 is out, last year's iPhone 14 is suddenly more affordable. And the question is, if you are picking between these two phones, do you save a bit of cash and get the iPhone 14, or is it worth spending that bit extra and getting the iPhone 15 instead? Well, to find out today, I'm going to show you the 10 major differences between these two phones and also share my thoughts on which is the better buy. But first, I am giving away this brand new iPhone 15, and if you want a chance to win, be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and subscribe to my second channel, TechBook by Dion, link below, and then leave a comment with your Instagram username and follow me on Instagram at Dion Schuddeboom, where I'll announce the winner on the 29th of December. When it comes to the design, there's two big differences that you should know. So the first is that the iPhone 15, while the frame is still flat, it is actually slightly rounded by the edges, and this makes the phone more ergonomic when compared to the iPhone 14's more squared off, sharper frame. And I can tell you that in the hand, you really feel this difference, where the iPhone 15 is much more comfortable and nicer to hold. The second difference is that the back of the iPhone 15 uses a matte glass as opposed to the glossy glass that you'll find on the iPhone 14. And this means that the iPhone 15 does a much better job at resisting fingerprints and also hiding scratches. Plus, I also found that the iPhone 15's matte glass is nicer to hold and adds a little bit of grip if you're daring enough to use your phone without a case. Not me. Let's talk about the display, one of the most important parts of any phone, and here too, there are two big differences that you should know. So the first has to do with the dynamic island that you will find on the iPhone 15. Now this was previously only on the 14 Pros, but now you also get it on the non-Pro iPhone, and I really welcome this feature. The dynamic island is a great way to see app info, like say the time remaining on a timer, or to know which direction to take next in Maps. You can also use it to quickly switch between apps, like for example, your music app and say Uber. Overall, I would say I found the dynamic island to be a genuinely useful feature to have. It kind of speeds up productivity and is something that I miss on phones that don't have it, and this includes the iPhone 14. The second major difference has to do with the brightness. Now, while I may be exaggerating it here, the difference is quite substantial. So the iPhone 15 goes all the way up to 2000 nits, which is double that of the iPhone 14. Now, I would describe both displays as bright enough, but when you are outdoors and especially in the sun, the difference really does show, where I would say the iPhone 14 is just bright enough to see and visible, but the iPhone 15 is super clear no matter how bright the sun. Additionally, the bezels on the iPhone 15 are ever so slightly thinner than on the 14, which somehow makes the iPhone 15 feel all that more modern. Oh, and in case you're wondering, unfortunately, both the iPhone 15 as well as the 14 still have 60Hz refresh rates on the display. If you do want that super smooth 120Hz refresh rate, you'll have to go to either the 15 Pro or the 14 Pro. And I do actually have a comparison of those two phones coming up as well, so be sure to subscribe to not miss that. Now, the area where these two phones actually differ the most is in the cameras. For starters, the iPhone 15 has a brand new 48 megapixel sensor that produces 24 megapixel photos, and this is a big step up when compared to the 12 megapixel sensor found on the iPhone 14. You can see the difference in these photos, where the iPhone 15 is sharper with better detail and has even more dynamic range, producing an objectively better photo. I also found the color profile and white balance to be even more accurate on the iPhone 15. Not only does the 48 megapixel sensor on the 15 produce better images, it also enables the 2x telephoto focal length, where by comparison, there's no telephoto option on the 14. I personally love using the 2x telephoto focal length for portrait photography, for product photography, where it really adds more depth to your photo, giving that DSLR look. Plus, what is also neat is on the 15, you can turn any photo into a portrait mode photo as it captures the depth data. And this lets you adjust the depth of field and even adjust where the camera focuses after taking the photo. It is really cool to have these kind of editing options right on your phone. All the new iPhone 15s have truly incredible displays that are great for watching videos, but it is often hard to find a place to prop up your phone. And this is where the Impact Ring Stand case from Casetify solved this problem with a super handy integrated phone stand. I love using the stand while working at my desk, where I have my phone propped up using standby mode while it is charging next to my Mac. And then even here in the studio, I often have notes set up on my phone, and then I can use this case to then prop it just out of view for me to look at as I speak during my videos. I even use the stand in the kitchen to follow a recipe as I cook my dinner. And since the stand integrates so seamlessly in the case, it means it's always with you. And this is especially great on the go, say for example, if you're on a train or at a cafe to more comfortably watch your favorite show or YouTube channel. The metal ring itself feels super solid in the hand, and this allows you to comfortably rest your phone in nearly any angle since it has up to 150 degrees of motion, and I also really like the satisfying snap when you close it. But not only does this case add functionality to your iPhone, it also adds 3x military grade drop protection while still keeping a really slim profile that is comfortable in your hand and your pocket. To add the functional and protective impact ring stand case to your iPhone, be sure to click the links in the description and head to casetify.com/Dion Schuddeboom for a discount off your order. Let's talk about performance, as this is important not just for how the phones perform today, but also in the years to come. So the iPhone 15 features Apple's A16 Bionic chip, and this is actually the same chip found in last year's iPhone 14 Pros, where by comparison, the 14 features Apple's A15 Bionic chip. Now, today, both phones perform really well, offering true flagship performance. However, the A16, in terms of benchmarks, is around 20% faster both in CPU as well as GPU power, and you will feel this difference in heavier tasks like, for example, loading up big games or exporting videos and photos. But the bigger differences lies in the longevity, where I would expect the newer chip on the iPhone 15 to get another 5 years of software support and updates. This is around 1 to 2 years more than the 3 to 4 years I would expect for the 14 to get. Now, this is an important factor to consider when you are picking between these two phones, as if you then divide the cost over the amount of years that each phone can last, the price difference suddenly looks very different, but we'll look more at that in a sec. In terms of the battery life, I would say both phones deliver with around 5 to 7 hours of screen on time, which translates to all workday use, where I typically end the day at around 6 p.m. with 20 or 30% battery life remaining. Now, where these two phones differ though is in the connector, where the iPhone 15 for the first time finally makes the switch to USB-C. Now, this is a universal connector, which means you can use the same charger for all of your tech, like say your MacBook charger, your iPad charger, or even an Android charger. This is simply not possible on the iPhone 14, which still uses Apple's Lightning port, which today may not be as big a problem. However, in the years to come, you're going to find less and less Lightning accessories and chargers. The USB-C port on the iPhone 15 also future-proofs it, as all future iPhones, at least in the foreseeable future, will be using this same connector. Let's talk about the prices. So at apple.com, you can buy the iPhone 15 for $799 and the iPhone 14 for $699. Now, this is already a $100 price difference. However, you don't have to look very far and wide to find the iPhone 14 for a little bit cheaper, so say $600 to $650. So let's say on average, the price difference between the two phones is $150. So assuming the iPhone 15 can last for up to 5 years in terms of software updates, the cost per year dividing the price of $799 by the number of years, which is 5, would equate to around $160 per year. By comparison, the iPhone 14, assuming 3.5 years of software updates and the average price of $650, would cost $650 divided by 3.5, around $185 per year. So by this measure, if we look at how long each phone can last and then divide the cost over the number of years, the iPhone 15 actually comes in at a lower cost. Now, of course, there are more factors to consider here, but software support is important, and in this case, it demonstrates how the difference in price breaks down over time. By the way, I will leave the purchase links to both the iPhone 15 and the 14 down in the description. So after looking at the 10 biggest differences between the iPhone 15 and the iPhone 14, and also comparing the prices, the question is, which of these two phones should you buy? Well, as a tech reviewer, often the case in these kind of comparisons, the answer will depend on what you personally value most in a phone. However, in this case, since the differences between the 15 and the 14 are so great and also stretch across every key component of a smartphone, from the camera to the display, longevity, performance, and even more, my advice is to spend the extra cash if you can, or save that little bit longer and get the iPhone 15 instead of the iPhone 14. I know it may be tempting to save a bit of cash upfront, but if we look at the many years that the iPhone 15 can last and the additional features and big improvements that it brings over the iPhone 14, the 15 here really is the better value option and is a phone that I can highly recommend. If you want to learn more of my thoughts on the iPhone 15, or you've just picked one up or will be buying one soon and want to maximize its its performance, battery life, and features, you'll not want to miss my iPhone 15 first 10 things to do video, which I'll leave linked on screen right now. And to add protection and also functionality to your iPhone, be sure to head to casetify.com/Dion Schuddeboom to pick up your Impact ring stand case with a special discount. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.